Hey, thanks for coming back to the Man vs. Weed Cannabis Review Podcast. My name is Tango Hotel Charlie. Thank you for the positive feedback. I appreciate it. If you want to take part in the discussion, make sure you follow me at Street Villain on Twitter for all things Man vs. Weed. And if you want to send me an email, it's manvsweedthc@gmail.com. Okay, so here's how this is going to work. I've been using cannabis for 30 years and I've got a lot of strong opinions. My wife, however, doesn't use cannabis, so she's going to be the one to go to the store and pick out the strain for me. And since she's not a weed nerd like me, she's going to have different opinions on what to pick. Where I might be looking at ethical cultivational practices and maybe the terpene profile, she's going to look at things like the name and what the box looks like. And since this whole legalization thing is brand new, many folks are going to pick their weed the exact same way. For me, there's many brands that I just wouldn't buy in the first place just on principle, and if it was me picking them, they just simply would never be on the review table, to be honest. So that means the cannabis choices for review will be bias-free. But after that, the gloves are off, sorry. Okay, so the flower on the table today is Limelight by Edison. Okay, so Rob had never been in a cannabis store before. She said it looked like an art gallery or an Apple store. She chose Limelight because she thought I like sour things, and she's not wrong. I fucks with the sour. I don't care if it's Keys, Lemons, or Patch Kids, I'm in. She said she also liked the name, Limelight, and she thought that the THC looked high at 20 to 26%. What's great about this choice is it's the perfect example to highlight exactly how this podcast is supposed to work. You see, Edison is owned by Organigram. And Organigram just happens to be one of the shadiest LPs in the legal market, in my opinion. Not only are they pro-criminalization, lobbying for increased raids on dispensaries and mail-order marijuana, but have committed a number of unethical cultivational practices. They were once caught using and lying about the use of myclobutanol on plants. Myclobutanol is a fungicide used for fruit, but you don't burn fruit. You see, it turns out when myclobutanol is burned, it loses an oxygen molecule and converts into hydrogen cyanide, or as the Nazis called it, Zyklon B. And I don't have to tell you what they did with that deadly poison or why you don't want to smoke it. Cannabis tainted with myclobutanol was sold to medical patients and veterans. They eventually had to cop to it, and as a result, they lost their organic certification. Imagine being a company called Organigram, with organic right in the name, and you have no organic certification. So yeah, they sold myclobutanol-tainted cannabis to sick patients for a year and didn't even bother to tell them. Neat. So it couldn't get much worse, right? Right? It turns out another incident occurred when bacteria from the Organigram facility infected the surrounding neighborhoods in a New Brunswick city with Legionnaire's disease. Legionnaire's disease is a pneumonia-like lung infection caused by breathing in droplets of Legionella bacteria. In this case, it came from their cooling towers. 16 people were hospitalized as a result. The company eventually admitted to and apologized for high levels of Legionella bacteria in their cooling towers after sick people complained on the news. So what happened to those sick patients that smoked the myclobutanol sprayed cannabis? Well, Organigram, totally known for being honest and not at all shady, investigated themselves and determined that there wasn't enough evidence that the patients got sick from the Zyklon B tainted cannabis that they knowingly sold and lied to them about. The judge in the case agreed and the patients got fucked over. But don't feel bad, Organigram offered them a discount coupon on their next purchase. Wow. If that wasn't a big enough ironic shit sandwich for a company with organic implied right in the name, they were also recently bought by one of the world's largest tobacco companies, a company called British American Tobacco Company. Yikes. I know, when I think organic, I think big tobacco. So just understand that I would never in a million years give this company my money willingly, not even if it was the best cannabis on the planet. So you can imagine my horror when she walked in with a jar of Edison Limelight. Edison Limelight is $10 a gram plus tax, so it'll cost you about $300 an ounce. This is a 20% THC sativa strain that was grown indoors in New Brunswick. Its parentage is Sour Diesel and MK Ultra. It is described as tangy and sour with heavy THC. They say they grew it in a specialized, strain-specific grow room with customized microclimates. I think that's code for cooling towers. The terpenes were listed without percentages, and they are terpenoline, piney and floral, with antibacterial, antifungal, and cancer-fighting qualities. They also listed caryophyllene, which can be found in black pepper, basil, and oregano. It is spicy and warm, and it's interesting because it's the only terpene that can act as a cannabinoid, which means it can bind to CB2 receptors. That allows it to provide benefits without getting you high. It is the only terpene with the ability to do this, and it reduces stress and relieves anxiety. Another cool thing about it is its ability to reduce alcohol consumption, a possible treatment for alcohol addiction. It's also an antioxidant and an anti-inflammatory. It may also help with lifespan longevity by reducing gene stress. And the final terpene that was listed is called humulene. It is earthy, woody, and spicy like a hoppy beer. It is also partly responsible for giving cannabis its signature smell. It is found in a variety of plants including black pepper, hops, and ginseng. It is anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, and an appetite suppressant. Okay, so this particular gram came in a plastic jar. Yep, another bulky, large plastic trash can. Inside it had a moisture pack. That's a step in the right direction. When I put my nose in, you could clearly smell lime. When I was a kid, you could get these plastic fruit-shaped containers of artificial fruit-flavored sugar. It came in a bunch of flavors, and kids and dentists loved it. Well, there was a lime one that tasted exactly like this weed smells. Presence of any terpenes is a welcome change in this dry wasteland that is legal cannabis in Canada. The buds, thanks to the moisture pack, seem spongy. At just 4 months old, this is the freshest cannabis I've personally had from the legal market. It was typical popcorn buds and they were light green in color. Under the microscope, the trichomes were beat up and frazzled, as is the norm with irradiated LP cannabis, but there was an abundance of amber trichomes as well. The presence of ambers means that the harvest went too long and should have been harvested sooner. A few amber trichomes are okay, but they are the product of the degradation of THC, so an abundance of amber trichomes can be an indication of low-potency cannabis. Mercifully, there were no signs of mold, and while that may seem like a low bar, I think you'd be surprised. Unfortunately, the benefits of the moisture pack stop when you grind it up, because when I ground it up, rather than being nice and sticky, it just turned into real fine, powdery-like grind. This occurs because while the moisture pack is good, it keeps it moist so you don't just have a rock hard, dry, powdery bud. Unfortunately, once volatile terpenes and cannabinoids are gone, once they evaporate, they don't come back, and using a moisture pack is not magic, and they'll still be dry in the center. So the moisture pack re-moisturized the outside of the bud, but inside it's still dry. This indicates that it wasn't properly dried and cured correctly. Irradiating it obviously doesn't help either. So after busting it up, the flower continued to smell of lime, not punch you in the face from across the room or anything like that, but if you put the bud up to your nose, it's definitely got a lime bouquet, and for some reason it reminded me of Flintstone vitamins as well. As is customary here, I rolled the entire gram up in a raw organic classic with a glass tip. The lime taste was persistent in the flavor and a testament to the moisture pack, I think. Sadly, the ash was a dingy gray for the most part, and the smoke was harsh on the throat and lungs. Otherwise, it burned fine with no sparking or needing to be relit. However, here's the thing. When I smoke weed, I smoke it to get high. I'm trying to get medicated. And this shit did not get me high. I mean, I get it, it's Limelight, but maybe a little less light, huh? Is there a lime heavy? I'll take a lime heavy. 2 lime heavies, please. I smoked a whole $10 gram straight to the brain, and all I got was this shitty review and a bulky plastic jar. Aside from a little dry mouth, I barely felt anything, so if you're looking to recommend a nice lime-flavored cannabis to your grandma, or maybe somebody who's never smoked cannabis before in their life, this will be perfect for you. But even then, you should probably consider their unethical farming practices and spend your cash elsewhere, right? Now the question is, would I leave the black market to support pro-crim ship bags with high-priced, low-quality cannabis? Come on. I think we know the answer. Fuck no. In the future, new episodes will be dropping every Friday at 4:20. Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you liked it, make sure you subscribe and maybe even review, as I hear that helps. I don't know. Who fucking knows? If you can't be bothered, that's fine as well. Anyways, if you want to participate in the conversation, make sure you follow me at Street Villain or email me at manversusweedthc@gmail.com. Free the motherfucking weed.